everyone! Today we're going to be testing out the new Jeffree Star x Morphe collab. So I just got back from the Morphe store here. Funny story, usually our Morphe store opens at 10 a.m. in the morning, so I called them just to make sure like a couple of days ago to ask what time they open, and they were like,
well, we open at 8 a.m. today because it's like a special release
or something like that, and I was like, I gotta be up that early. So I went and there was nobody in the store except for the employees and the security guards. So I definitely didn't have to be that early. It's not like it was going to sell out, but here we are. I got the palette. We're gonna test it out. I also got the setting spray because I mean it's pink and it's supposed to smell really good. So let's just go ahead and try this. I didn't get the brushes because honestly, I don't need any more brushes right now. Oh, that smells so good. That smells like strawberry cheesecake. Not strawberry cheesecake. It doesn't smell like cheesecake. It smells like strawberry something. I can't put my finger on what exactly it is. It smells good. Just trust me. It smells really good. So like I was saying, I did not get the brushes because I have so many brushes right now. Like, I mean, these are my eyeshadow brushes. I just washed them yesterday. They're all clean. Have more brushes here. I also have face brushes. I mean, I don't need more brushes right now. So I decided to skip on those because I feel like what most people are going to be the most interested in anyway is going to be the palette. So I'm going to open this up. I'm not going to bore you with a lot of information about this because I'll just leave the link to the website down below. If you want to know more about like the ingredients and stuff like that, everything will be on their site and it'll be way better explained than what I can do in this video. So here's what the palette looks like itself. It's basically the same as the packaging. Nothing on the back of it. Now let's see if this made it all in one piece. I can feel the slip falling out already. Oh, there it goes. Oh, there is the palette. All right, so we have how many shades in here? 30 or something like that? I don't know, there's a lot. So 6 times 5, yeah, we have 30 shades in here. That's a big palette. So I'll be completely honest, I saw this palette get sneak peeked and I wasn't really that thrilled about it because I don't personally like big palettes. I don't feel like the slip just fell on the floor. I don't feel like I get that inspired by a palette of this size, but I did a poll on my community page and so many of you guys wanted to see me get this palette and review it, so that's mainly why I got it, but I'm also just so curious to see if the formula of this palette is going to be similar to the formula of the other Jeffree Star palettes that I own. So we're gonna go ahead and swatch this real quick. Let me see if I'm actually able to bend this back without ruining the palette. And I think we're gonna be good to go. All right, so this is what the palette looks like. I'm gonna go ahead and swatch this real quick. I'm not going to, you know, drag this out too far. So let's just go ahead and get these swatches out of the way and then I will come back and talk a little bit about how I felt about these swatches. Okay, so just from feeling this palette, I felt like the matte swatched really nice. The mattes felt very nice and creamy. Most of the mattes were just one finger swatch, meaning I didn't even move my hand back and forth. And the shimmers were a little bit not as intense as I would have liked for them to be. I mean, they were okay, but I just feel like this is not Jeffree Star's shimmer formula. This definitely feels more like Morphe's shimmer formula, if you know what I mean. The glitter right here looks really pretty. I'm not going to use that today because no glitter is eye safe and I'm just not about that glitter life. So sorry if you wanted to see the glitter in action, you're gonna have to go somewhere else because I'm not going to use that. So we're gonna go ahead and create an eye look. I am going to do more looks with this. I haven't yet decided if I want to do 3, 5, or 10. So depending on how this video does, I have to kind of feel it out. Like I don't want to waste my time doing a 10 look video if a lot of people aren't going to watch it, you know what I mean? But if this gets really good views and interaction and stuff, I definitely might do a 10 look video with this palette because it obviously has a lot to offer. I mean, there's a lot of shades in here and I feel like having swatched them, I see the possibilities more than I do just looking at this palette, and I feel like there's more things that I want to do with it than I originally thought I would. So I'm gonna go ahead and prime my eyes with my Smashbox lid primer if I can get it somewhere. Wow, I am a mess today. So I'm gonna use this and prime my eyes, and then I'll be right back and we can get into trying out this palette on my eyes. I'm very excited, very intrigued. So I've been staring at this palette now for probably 10 minutes, and this is why I don't like big palettes, because I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. I'm just very confused, and I want to put all of these on my eyes, but it's just too many. You know, I can't do 30 shades on my eyes at the same time. Maybe that could be a fun challenge. Let me know if you want to see that. Actually, I probably don't want to do that, so let's just go ahead and get into this. I'm going to try to use a lot of shades because I want to test out as many of these as possible. So I'm first going to go into Mogul, which is the dark purple in this palette. And I like to test out purples in palettes just because purples are one of the hardest shadows to formulate. So like I've said before, if the purple is good, it's probably a good sign for the rest of the palette. So I'm going to go ahead and start by putting that into the outer part of my crease here. I'm using my Morphe E36 brush. So this seems to be showing up a lot lighter on my eye than it did in the pan. I'm going to see if I'm able to build this up. I obviously did not set my primer because I do want to give this shadow the best chance it has at not getting patchy and stuff. And I mean, it looks to be laying down pretty nicely. So I think I can safely say that I like this shade okay, but like I said, I do feel like it's showing up lighter on my eye than it is in the pan, or maybe it's just me. I don't know. I mean, it's still a very pretty shade, and I do appreciate that he put a black in here so that you can basically deepen up every shade that you want anyway, so not really a huge deal. So what do I want to do next? Actually, let me do the other eye first. Okay, let's move on. Next up, I'm gonna go into Pink Fleet, which is a beautiful pink shadow. It's not the brightest pink, it's more like a pink purple. What do you call this? I'm so bad at describing colors. I'm gonna go in with this, and I'm going to use that to basically blend out what I put down in my crease. There's a little bit of kick up in the pan here, but not a whole lot. I wouldn't worry too much about there being a lot of fallout and stuff, so I'm gonna go ahead and take that on a smaller fluffy brush and just run that right above the shadow that I just put down. And I can't really see like a huge difference between the two shadows. I mean, obviously this one is a little bit lighter, but I don't think that you can really tell that much. Beautiful shadow though, and I do feel like they both blended in together very easily. So I think what I'm going to do to deepen this up even more, I'm going to go into the black because I love black eyeshadow and I really want to test this out. From the swatch, this seemed very, very nice and opaque and pigmented, so I'm excited to test this out. I'm going to go ahead and just take the same brush actually, and I'm going to start placing that in the outer corner of my eye, basically just stamping it on in the outer corner. And this is definitely a very nice and pigmented black. I really like the combination of black and pink together. I think that looks so good. Do you see how like now that purple kind of disappeared? I don't really feel like you can tell that I used a purple on my eye. It's turning out more magenta, kind of like my hair color, than it did purple. But I mean, this black is laying down so beautifully. I'm also going to go ahead and take this black down to my lower lash line, just on the outer part here, just to kind of make these two easier to, you know, just blend together on the outer corner of my eye. I think I am going to go ahead and just bring this gently through my crease here, just bring it into the inner part to deepen that up a bit more too. Not using any additional product, I'm basically just using what is already on my brush here. Gonna take a little bit more of that first matte that I used, the magenta shade, and I'm just going to run that right between the black and the pink just to make sure the blend here is looking okay. Having a little bit of fallout with this black, but I don't think it's much at all compared to other blacks that I've used in the past. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm tempted to go in with some of these greens maybe on the rest of my lower lash line here. It does have a little bit of kick up in the pan, like I said, the palette, so let's see, what do I want to do? Do I want to go in with the brightest of the greens? I think I'm going to start off by going in with this one, which is Wake and Bake. I love the names in this palette, they're really funny. I love that they're like part of him, you know, like it definitely feels like a Jeffree palette. So these kind of shades are notorious for not wanting to stick on your lower lash line, so I'm gonna go ahead and try it first without an eyeshadow primer, and I mean that is laying on very nicely. So I'm just gonna put that in like the first half of my lower lash line here, just mating it up with the black that I have down. Oh, dude, I love that shade. That is beautiful. I love me like a good kind of grungy mustardy lime green yellow. Love that. And just to kind of complete the lower lash line, I'm gonna go into Nate, which is the beautiful green shadow. And I'm going to use that to blend out the black that I have on my lower lash line on the outer part here, and also just connect that with the shade that I just put down on the inner part of my lower lash line. And I want all of this to be kind of a seamless blend together. I'm definitely not blown away by this shadow, but again, I mean, I am using it on my lower lash line, and I feel like if I were to put this on top of a sticky eyeshadow primer, it would absolutely perform better. But just as like a first impression, I definitely don't think that this is like the best green that I have in my collection, but it's also not, you know, bad by any means. So is this what I want to do? Do I want to do anything else? I think I'm happy with how this is looking. I don't know if I want to cut my crease or if I just want to go straight in with some kind of a shadow here. So I kind of want to use some of the green shimmers. I'm going to first start off by taking Drive Through. I've said before in my first impressions, I don't really like to do cut creases when I'm first testing out a palette because I want to see how opaque the shimmers in the palette are and just see how they layer above the mattes, because I don't really like to do cut creases in every look that I do. And so if I have the option not to do so, I probably won't because I'm lazy. So I'm taking that green on my MAC 242 brush and I'm going to spray it with some Fix Plus just to make this nice and intense. And I'm going to basically put that on the middle part of my lid here. And that's quite a beautiful shadow. I feel like that actually applies better on the eye than it did swatched out. I mean, obviously I did spray it, so it is going to be a little bit more intense, and that makes me very happy because I love shimmers that are as intense as you can possibly get them. So I'm just kind of patting this over the black now to kind of mix these two together. And I mean, I am not mad at this. I think that so far, all of the shadows that I've tried have performed pretty good. I mean, I don't think that... I wouldn't say that the formula is the same as the Jeffree Star palettes, but it's still like a good formula, if you know what I mean. And just to finish off, I think I'm gonna take... See, this is a tough one because I wish there was kind of like a pure gold in this palette, like kind of like a yellow gold maybe. I think that would be really nice. I wish that this glitter was not a glitter and I wish it was a shimmer because I would have loved this. I don't like glitter. I'm so sorry. So let's see, what do I want to do? I think I'm gonna go into... Ooh, that shadow is pretty too, but maybe I'll use Designer Label. So this one right here. I guess this is sort of like a champagne shade. I think that could look really nice. And I'm basically just going to use this to meet up with the other shadow that I have on my lid here. I mean, these two are definitely different formulas. I don't feel like this shadow is as opaque as the first one that I put down. But I also think that most people are going to be using these very light shades, you know, like in your inner corner or as a brow bone highlight or something like that, and not all over your lids. So maybe you don't necessarily need it to be that intense. I feel like maybe I should have had something to just put in between these two shadows. Maybe this one is a little bit too light, so maybe I'll see if I can layer something else on top of this just to kind of darken it up a bit more again. The shadow is very smooth and it builds very nicely though, so that's always good. So just to be so extra, I'm also going to go into Glam Rapids, which is this kind of lighter, kind of, how would I explain this? I'm so bad at explaining colors. It's almost like a lime green shimmer with a bit of gold in it, like a lighter grime. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. You'll see on the eyes. And I'm just going to take that and kind of layer that in between that champagne shade and the other green that I have, just to get a bit of a better gradient, even though I can't really see much of a difference between the shades. But I mean, to be fair, they are pretty light and they look pretty similar in the pan as well. But it is adding a bit of a just green tint to everything, which I kind of like that. I honestly really like the gradient that I have going on here. You know what? I'm not mad at this. Just to finish off, I'm also going to go back into Designer Label again, and I'm just going to wrap that around to my bottom lash line here. I wasn't sure if I wanted to use this shade or if there was something else in the palette that I could use, but I feel like there wasn't really anything that was speaking to me, so I'm just gonna go ahead and use this, and then I'll finish up the rest of my eyes. I'll pop something in my waterline. I'll probably do something green. I'll do some liner mascara, and then I will be right back to show you the completed look, and I'll also just kind of tell you my first impression thoughts on this palette. Okay, so here is the eye look all complete, or here is the full makeup look all complete, I guess you could say. I did go a little bit fancy with my waterline. I first used Electric Daisy on the inner part of my waterline. This is by Colourpop, and then on the outer part I used Teaspoon, also by Colourpop, and I think that turned out really nicely with kind of like an ombre in the waterline. And then for my lipstick, I used Doll Parts by Jeffree Star. This is one of my all-time favorites. It's drying out. I had to revive it with some Duraline, and it makes me really sad because I probably need to buy a new one of these soon. So that's going to be the look all complete. I think this turned out really, really good. I'm really happy with this look, and so honestly, my first impression thoughts on this palette is that I think that the quality of this is really, really nice, and I'm honestly pleasantly surprised. I wasn't sure what I expected, but I mean, I knew that if Jeffree were to put his name on a palette, it would probably be pretty good. And I don't really have anything against Morphe's quality in general, so the fact that, you know, it's a little bit of a mix between his formula and their formula, I don't mind that at all. And so far, I mean, I like this palette. I see a lot more opportunities and more color combinations and stuff that I want to do with this palette now that I have it in front of me than I did when I first saw it. So that's always a good sign. I do think though that this could have probably been edited down just a little bit. I feel like this is just a very large palette. Like, I feel like a lot of these shadows are just a little bit too similar and we don't need them all, but I can also see a lot of people really liking the fact that there are this many shades in this. So I don't know, it's just going to depend on your, you know, makeup preferences. If you're someone who maybe don't have as many eyeshadow palettes as I do, maybe you want to have a large palette like this, you know, maybe you're someone who don't usually buy from Jeffree Star and you want to be able to test out something from his brand, then this is probably going to be a good place to start because I think the quality of this is good. So let me know how interested you are in me doing like a lot of looks with this palette. I am quite inspired by this, if I'm being honest, and I wouldn't mind doing, you know, quite a few looks with this. So leave it down in the comments if you're interested in me doing a 10 look video. I'll think about it. I can't promise. It'll probably depend on what you guys want to see. So yeah, let me know. So you'll probably find out depending on how long it takes me to put up that video. So I'll either do 3, 5, or 10 looks depending on what you guys want. So I'll pop a poll up on there and you can vote if you want. So yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. If you want to see some more Jeffree Star content, I'll pop some up on the screen. And if you're new to my channel, I would love it if you would consider subscribing, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.